A huge partnership kind of flew under the radar with Ripple, XRPL integration. I don't think people really understand how big this is. When we look at OKX and their partnership with Ripple, it's bigger than just listings and trading pairs. And we saw this in 2018, and a lot of people ignored it. I've been hollering at the rooftops about this. You know, you have this deep integration where now Coinbase lists ERC20 tokens like crazy, and the stablecoin kind of allowed that with the Circle partnership. And then now they have Base is this infrastructure they're building off of Ethereum. Well, that all started with that initial integration in 2018. We're seeing the same thing with Ripple and OKX, and people just don't understand how big this really is. Let's get into this. So we see here, OKX just made the 2018 USDC decision, but with Ripple and more importantly, XRP Ledger. This is what the stablecoin allows us to do. Easily integrate, incentivize people to build around this ecosystem. OKX announced a strategic partnership embedding RLUSD into its core trading infrastructure. And once you really intertwine this, it's very hard to untangle it and go with someone else. This is a long-term commitment, and it's much bigger than just a listing. It's a structural commitment to Ripple, to the XRP Ledger, and using that as its default rails here. Now, spot pairs here, 280 plus RLUSD pairs. You're trying to trade out of Bitcoin, you're going to be going into RLUSD. Even bigger than that, the XRP Ledger is directly intertwined with this, deposits and withdrawals via XRPL. That's the key. They're using the actual blockchain to facilitate this. Again, this is the moment, the 2018 moment that we saw that most people miss with USDC. And what it will lead to is, well, a base type of moment where really OKX, when they build a side chain and they start building out their infrastructure all around the XRP Ledger, similar to what Coinbase has done with Ethereum. And what I think really Ripple needs to do is put pedal to the metal here and do this type of deal with other exchanges, not just one. Start integrating a bunch of exchanges with this ecosystem. It's going to pay dividends over the long haul. 5-year rollout here for Ethereum and Coinbase. And again, it can be much quicker now because this has already been proven. But 2018, you had the launch of USDC on Coinbase. Big deal. In 2019, USDC only had a $400 million market cap. A lot of people ignored it. Oh, we don't need stable coins. We have crypto. No, it's part of this integration with traditional finance. It was an infrastructural decision that was made in 2019 that really set the roadmap for everything that would come. As we went forward, you know, most of their listings, a lot of their listings, they were centered around ERC20s. They were all about Ethereum, the ecosystem. That's where the new coins came from, the integrations. And then finally, again, they launch Base, which is huge. It's a big infrastructure project, the biggest exchange in the United States. And they're integrating with their own layer 2. And Ethereum is part of their whole build out here. And it's been successful. Well, right now, what we look at the setup with OKX and Ripple, RLUSD embedded in its order books, pulling it out, it becomes very expensive. If they decide, no, this is not good, it's not so easy to pull out 280 trading pairs and everything else they're going to be building here. OKX branded yield products denominated in RLUSD settled on the XRP Ledger. Prime brokerage cross margin defaults to RLUSD is the cheapest collateral. So people are going to use whatever gives you the best yield, what has the best costs, and what's ever easiest to use, the least friction. OKX users are going to be using RLUSD and the XRP Ledger. Eventually, I think we will see OKX launch their own layer 2, which will be huge. I've said this before. We need more builders than just Ripple to have a fully decentralized system here. We need exchanges like Ethereum enjoys. We need other players like BlackRock, like Ethereum enjoys, if we are going to compete. And Ripple then becomes something that Ethereum and no other blockchain has. We have a lot of different diversified builders, and then we also have Ripple on top of everything else, and that is the game changer as we go forward. The right yardstick for this is not what happens today or in the next quarter, but over the little bit longer of a horizon. And I don't think it's going to mirror what we saw with Coinbase because, again, things are speeding up. It should move much quicker. But the next, 12, 24, 36 months. That's really what we're looking at here. The question isn't whether this pumps XRP next quarter. It's, do we see this building rolling out? And really, what's going to matter, is this a good business deal for both sides? Does this work for Ripple? Does this work for OKX? And are they seeing utility out of this? And I believe they will. But that is going to be the key long term. Link down below to The Frontier by Jungle Link. You get AI articles, space articles, anything science and the future of investing delivered right to your inbox. Had a rollout here just this morning. AI is repricing labor. We're looking at how different markets are treating this AI issue about replacing workers. China has, a different ruling that you can't do it just because it's cost effective. That's not a right of yours to replace human labor. And then you have the US way of, well, do what you want, whatever's the most efficient way. If you got to unemploy a bunch of people, great. And so it kind of looks at the dynamic between those two. Link down below, sign up, check it out. A lot of interesting topics we cover on there. Ethereum Foundation, they just sold another $23 million of Ethereum to Bitmine. But here's the deal. Only Ripple dumps XRP, right? But no, you have Ethereum. They're dumping ETH tokens all the time. And this has been multiple trades just to Bitmine alone. And beyond that, people are ignoring not just the Ethereum Foundation. What has Joe Lubin doing? What's Vitalik doing? And all these other major players that were in early, these invisible whales. It's all the same difference. When you look at Charles and his ranch and his Lambos, like, how did he get those? Well, selling tokens. Same thing, what we see. And the question is, are we getting any value derived from these sales? This is the third OTC sale to Tom Lee's Bitmine. 10,000 Ethereum at an average of $22.92 in price. That brings the past week's sales to roughly 47 million in 1 week, which is fine. Again, if they take those funds and they improve the protocol and they give grants out to people, fantastic. But just make this clear. Everybody does this. Every single ecosystem in crypto has someone selling tokens, some to put in their own pocket, some to reinvest in the ecosystem. And who does the best job of managing that funds? That's who's going to win over the long horizon. Coinbase, they're conceding here. Clarity Act, moving forward. They're saying, look, okay, fine. They can't give you money just for parking your dollars in USDC. That ain't going to happen. But they can have almost like a credit card reward. Like, you use their services, you subscribe to Coinbase One, you do different actions, and you can get rewards. Great, that's how we're going to go forward. Now, this is the thing. This could have been signed, sealed, and delivered in January with exactly these qualifications. They should have done it. Right now, we have a war going on. We have a Fed chair being confirmed. Crypto just ain't, top here. It ain't top priority. And if this doesn't get done quickly, probably within the next month, then it ain't going to happen before the midterms. And then, it's very difficult to get anything done after that. So it's a shame this has been put off, but at least we're on a track where this can happen. I see markets putting in about 50-50. I think there's a lot of money involved, and so they will push this through, but we put ourselves in a bad position for nothing. We got nothing else out of these, negotiations from January 1st to now. Nothing, because you got to understand where your power is. Yeah, we spend a lot of money, so does the banks. Like, get this thing done, get it into law, because a lot of people I see say, well, XRP already has clarity. Yeah, under the current laws. But who knows what the future of crypto laws will be if you kick it off to 2030. You may have Elizabeth Warren writing those laws. We just don't know. There's too much risk. Get this done now and secure the future of crypto. It ain't going to get any better than this, likely. Grayscale put out an interesting report here, and it was comparing Canton Network and Ethereum. So Canton has a lot more in total value in RWAs, but Ethereum has a much higher market cap. Why is that? And one of the interesting things is the Ethereum, a lot of their tokenized assets are actually, the Ethereum token is the asset. Maybe it's a token from some sort of decentralized exchange or some DeFi system. And with Canton, it's a representation of the real asset that's held offline, maybe a stock, right? That some custodian holds, and they tokenize it and they show it on the Canton network. Again, Canton having a lot of success here, but playing a very different game. Will we see Canton network, start rising in price to show, how much value they have tokenized on their network? Or is it really about the Ethereum type of things where that token is the asset, whoever holds it, that's final. There isn't any kind of like we see with the stable coin, where yeah, you can have a USDC, but someone holds an actual dollar. You have more of that happening on Canton. Is that because this type of tokenization is more valuable on Ethereum, or is it that the world really just doesn't understand what's happening with Canton? It's pretty interesting by Grayscale report, and it goes down all the major blockchains here: Solana, Avalanche, BNB, Chainlink, quite a bit of stuff. Check that out if you haven't yet. A lot of stuff going, a lot of controversy swirling around the president, World Liberty Finance. You know, are we going to see lawsuits, more lawsuits? We've already seen some. Is this going to be like an FTX type of moment where this really sours politicians towards being involved with crypto? It could be. It's so important. Get clarity done, and then it really doesn't matter. World Liberty Finance could blow up, whatever. As soon as that thing is signed, we don't have to worry about it anymore. This is a ticking time bomb. There's so many different deals out there, payments from foreign countries, just a lot of controversy that could cause a lot of problems. We need to get clarity done now, because that could really throw a wrench in things over the long haul. Ripple, they relocked 700 million. So we hear every single month on the 1st, they get $1 billion in XRP out of escrow, as been defined by the contract there, essentially. And they never spend all that. They never spend more than they need. They put more back in for the long term. And from a marketing perspective, I'm not sure if this is such the best setup, essentially. It's constant every month. You get FUD. It would almost be better if it was like Ethereum and they just kind of like hold the money in secret accounts and don't tell anyone from a marketing perspective. But really, institutions are going to like this because they know what they expect. They can look at the track record. They can look if things change, if Ripple starts selling quicker. It's my opinion, you will see over the long horizon, over the fullness of time, really Ripple starts selling less and less and less, and maybe eventually none. I think really their value of their company long term is going to be dictated by how much XRP they hold. That's the key. That's the value. You can do as much custody as you want. You can do as much stable coins as you want. None of it, not cross-border payments, none of it is as valuable as holding XRP, in my opinion. And so I think that will reflect over time. They're going to sell less and less as they need less and less. What's interesting, they can, as a company, be just like we see with Michael Saylor, where their company trades at a premium, but unlike Michael Saylor, they don't have all that debt, and they can use their XRP productively to throw off cash flows to shareholders. They got a little more work to do here, but I think they will go public at some point. And once people understand what they have here, it's going to be an in-demand company. People are going to want that XRP exposure without the debt and being able to use it productively to kick off cash flows. And there's so many different ways they could do that. It's going to be an exciting company. Again, we have to make sure markets really understand Ripple, XRP, the digital asset, and the whole ecosystem before this goes live. But once that's time, I think this is going to be a really, really hot stock. We'll see how it plays out. Let me know what you think down below. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Link in the description and the pinned comment. And you're going to get these newsletters about the future of finance and investing. I think you'll find it interesting. But let me know what you think down below. As always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.